Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about a tool that artists are going to be very excited about. ArtHelper.ai. You know how we as artists would rather be creating than promoting our work? Well, this is like having a marketing team in your pocket that actually understands work. I've been playing around with ArtHelper for the past month, and here's what got me hooked. You upload a photo, and it instantly creates professional content for you. We're talking social media posts, email newsletters, even entire Substack articles, all in your authentic voice. And get this, it automatically generates hundreds of professional mockups for every image you upload. But here's what really sets it apart. ArtHelper was built specifically for photographers and artists. It helps you find the right buyer group for your style, suggests optimal pricing based on your market, and unlike other AI tools out there, they have an art production guarantee. That means your images are never used for AI training, something I know we all care about. The interface is super intuitive. Honestly, I picked it up right away. And it actually makes marketing fun, which is something we all want. Just head over to ArtHelper.ai to create your account and check out the link in today's show notes to claim your free social post. Now back to today's episode.
Welcome to my bubble factory, where I'm creating the biggest bubble of them all, where I will live for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, Mumford. First of all, thank you for inviting me, but I don't mean to burst your bubble, pun intended, but I don't really see how living in a bubble is going to help.
That's why you leave it to the genius to see. Living in this bubble will protect me from all outside stimuli, insults, and criticisms.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
Yes.
That was creepy. Listen, enjoy the episode, everybody.
Or don't. It won't affect me in here.
Oy.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I thought I would do another podcast ripped from the headlines. Not ripped from the headlines, but ripped from my life. I was blessed with a little bit of a better morning this morning. So I actually got into the studio and painted a small painting. And now I decided I am going to record something while I have this brief window of feeling a little bit better. So that's good. The painting I just painted, I'm toying around with calling it separation anxiety. And I thought, you know what? That's a good name for this podcast episode too, separation anxiety. And what do I mean by that specifically? Well, I mean that a lot of times in society nowadays, especially, post-COVID, there is a lot of separation anxiety. I know it means something else in the psychology world, but for the, purpose of this podcast, I'm going to be talking about it in a broader form, which is, people felt the anxiety of being separated from the group, from having that contact with your group, your milieu, your artistic cohorts, your friends, your peers, your contemporaries. And it's interesting because I have toyed around a lot with isolation, extreme isolation. And of course, right now, battling this disease, I have been thrown into a deeper isolation than I've ever felt in my life, not being able to leave the house. But, it's interesting. In some ways, it has brought me back to basics. It's brought me back to my roots. I'm not saying it's been beneficial. I'm just saying in some ways, with my mentality and my mindset and what I set out to do as an artist, it's brought me back to kind of being like the lone wolf, being the person who set out to create something, a career, and an artistic body of work and do something that is coming from within and something that I want to share with the world, and being untouched and unhindered by outside perspective. For me, that is something that has always worked, that I've always drawn from within and from my imagination, and being able to bolster myself up with that. And, before the pandemic, I got back into doing a lot of community stuff and getting out there, working with galleries a lot and doing all this, and, online and brick and mortar. And it's interesting because, that has its place. And I know a lot of artists love the community aspect of it. But I want to say something a little controversial here. Maybe you're doing too much, because for me specifically, I know that getting into a little bit too much of the politics and the bureaucracy of working with a lot of people and people with their own, careers and agendas and stuff like that, it kind of, had an effect on me negatively. And part of this was because of my illness and my disease. I kept getting worse and worse and worse, and just retreating into, anxiety and pain and neurological symptoms and horrible stuff. And it was reinforcing that. But it did take a toll on my confidence. If, truth be told, I started to, before I couldn't actually do it, I started to retreat and not show my work as much physically. I was showing my work online. I was creating my work online. But as far as working in a specific context, I started to lose a little bit of my confidence. And I did a deep dive on that mentally. And I think it was because I got too involved with other people's perspectives. And like I said, the bureaucracy of working with a bunch of people. And, for some people that works, and for some people that bolsters their confidence. For me, it was the same thing with like doing too many critique groups. A little bit is okay. A little bit works for you. Some people love it. They want to be critiqued all the time. I am one of those people who's always been able to draw confidence from within. And maybe it's something that has to do with, my upbringing and going through some traumatic experiences, and being able to kind of self-motivate, self-soothe, and like self-bolster my confidence, going back into my imagination, falling back into my imagination, and, retreating into like drawing and sketching and art and movies and acting and, shooting films with my best friend Ryan O'Malley when I was a kid. It was all these creative outlets that were able to make me feel good and feel confident and bolster my confidence. So it was interesting to see my confidence kind of diminish and dwindle during that period. And I wonder, I put this out there to you, I wonder if some of you have experienced the same thing. I know you see those people who just thrive on it. They love to get out there. They love to be in the groups. They love to do the critiques. They love to do art support groups. They love to be in like gallery settings. They love to do critique groups. They love to get out there, take courses. And I think that's great. I think you need to discover what your type is. Do you need to have more isolation, or do you need to be in more of a group setting? I think a lot of times, like everything else, it's about balance. I think we all need to have that group contact. I think we all need to have that social contact with our group at large, but we also need to have enough time where we can really delve deep into our own conscious and subconscious and really, get into what we are and who we are as artists, so that we can develop a stronger voice with our art. And, as I've been trying to get well, it has been definitely an existential crisis, but I have discovered rediscovered that side of myself, which is like retreating into my imagination and my dreams and my goals as an artist, unhindered by outside perspective. And that's been really interesting, because I have a lot of ideas coming out of this. Hopefully I can come out of this. And on the other side of this, I have ideas of what I want to be doing with my career, with my marketing, with my dreams, my goals, and with my art. I've got so many unpainted paintings in my head that I want to get out there in all different types of forms that I'm excited about. And this just made me think about today's topic, because not only have I been thinking about this on my own, but as I've been doing my treatments, I've been watching snippets of a lot of art documentaries and revisiting old art biopics that I love, like the Basquiat's and the Pollocks. And I was just started watching Crumb and, The Price of Everything, and even the Abramovitz documentary, The Artist is Present, looking at all of these things. And I find it interesting how a lot of these artists had some of their best creative times or just functioned best as an isolated artist or in isolation, having that time shut off from society. Of course, when it comes time to show your work and work with galleries and, talk to collectors and deal with the public, that is a different animal in and of itself. But as far as the creative process is concerned, a lot of those artists did their best work in isolation, like Basquiat being, sequestered into the basement, painting all of his stuff, self-sequestered, because I know a lot of people used to say he was locked in the basement, but he put himself into this basement so he could have isolation and create. And Pollock had his best creative time and developed his drip painting technique when he was out in the Springs, when he moved out of New York City and got into isolation and got a little bit sober, or as we'd say here, California sober. And then just watching the Crumb documentary, this guy's always sketching. His partner was saying that her mother didn't even know if he spoke because he was so focused on his own work all the time, which is its own form of isolation, retreating into imagery. There's countless examples of this that you can go into. And there's the examples of people who went too far, who, isolated too much and they never showed their work because they retreated so deeply into their imagination. That is the other extreme, right? But I do think as long as we're having a healthy balance of getting out there, showing our work, talking to people when we want to, developing a small group of artist friends who kind of bolster our confidence and do not take from our confidence and encourage us to do more and to push us out of our comfort zone and to do great things and to live up to our artistic abilities and potential. I think as long as we have a little bit of a balance of that, I think it.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast Gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast Gems.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
Artists really should be trying to find and make friends with isolation and not have that separation anxiety. I know I feel so much better when I have periods, sometimes even prolonged periods of isolation where I can really get these ideas out, get them out on canvas, get them out on whatever surface I'm working on, get my ideas out for marketing, for my business strategies, for the podcast even. I thrive in that isolation. And I wonder if you do too. And if you're one of those artists who's never tried it, who's never really made friends with isolation, maybe it's time for you to visit that side of yourself as well and find the other side of the coin from being hypersocial and out in galleries all the time and developing contacts and stuff. Maybe you need to, have a little bit of a balance with the isolation aspect of it. Maybe you'll get more work done and maybe it'll push you to thrive in a different way in your artistic career and, of course, with your body of work. So I just thought I would talk about it today while this was on my mind and while I had some energy to do this because it has been something that has been interesting to reflect on for me personally, which was, discovering that I had lost a little bit of my artistic confidence for the first time in my artistic career. And I was doing a deep dive on why that was. And I really do think it was being too social and being too community-based for me. I know that sounds maybe bizarre to some of you, and I know it's not right for everybody. But for me personally, it goes against my artistic and social conditioning coming up through my life and my artistic career, and getting too far away from that and hearing other people's perspectives so much and with so much vigor, it kind of drowned out my own artistic voice a little bit. So in one way, it has been good to get back into that and to put on that old comfortable shoe, which is isolation. I wish I was doing it in, a different context, not through illness and disease, but, I do embrace getting back into the isolation of the artistic form that has brought me so much pleasure and productivity in the past. So just something that I wanted to talk about today. Hope you got something out of this. Let me know how you feel, what type of artist you are. Are you the social butterfly artist? Are you the wallflower artist? Are you the extreme isolation artist? Or are you kind of a hybrid artist who likes to retreat into isolation for prolonged periods and then get out? You start starving for connection and you want to get out there, show your work, and make connection with other artists. Which type are you? And if you don't know, maybe it's time to think about that a little bit and do a little bit of a deep dive into what type you are. Because knowing ourselves and knowing our subconscious and knowing, how we thrive as artists can only lead to better production, better art, and hopefully a better career for you. So I will leave it at that for now. Looking forward to bringing you another episode next week. Hope everybody's doing well out there, and we will see you next time on the next episode.
We're standing here in the bubble factory. We're here to build a tremendous bubble. A bubble like the world has never seen. People are already talking about this bubble. They're talking about this bubble. Psst, bubbles are stupid. I don't even want to do the bubble anymore. See you next time, suckers.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.